So it is day 17 of Russia's invasion into Ukraine, and according to the reports that are coming in, the Russian forces are inching closer to the Ukrainian capital Kyiv. The civilian areas have witnessed heavy shelling this morning, and authorities have warned of what they say could be an unimaginable tragedy that could unfold if Russian forces invade into Kyiv. The people in Kyiv woke up to the sound of gunfire and explosions early this morning. And this comes as the Russian invasion has now entered into its 17th day. Air raid sirens also blared to warn residents to seek shelter. The sirens also sounded across Kharkiv, Cherkasy and also in Sumy. Now, to give us more updates in terms of what is unfolding in the capital of Ukraine, in the city of Kyiv, we're joined in by my colleague Anas Malik, who's presently joining us from the capital city in Ukraine. Anas, we've heard of reports of gunfire and explosions early this morning. Tell us what the situation is like in the capital of Ukraine at this point of time.
Well, absolutely, you're right there, Saleh. We heard air raid sirens going off for about 40 minutes in the capital city of Kyiv. We saw announcements early in the morning around 5 a.m. that had asked citizens to move to shelters or bunkers in order to avert any loss of human life in case of a possible airstrike. That was the situation like here in the city of Kyiv. That's what the residents of Kyiv woke up to this morning. Now, as we speak, it's relative calm in the city. It's that calm before the storm. Trenches have been built up, and then we see more and more checkpoints, more and more concrete blocks, and these more and more crossroads or iron rods that are there to prevent tanks from walking in. You'll see tire busters placed on the road. Every 300 or 400 meters, you see a checkpoint that's there. The travel time has increased by about 3 or 4 fold. So let's say if you were to travel from one place to another in normal circumstances in 2 to 3 minutes, now it would take you at least 10 to 15 minutes because the checkpoints are as such. The situation on the ground remains tense. The Ukrainians are fortifying their city, and they say that they will not let go of their city that easily in case if a Russian invasion happens. Saleh?
Absolutely indeed. Now, the latest satellite images that have in fact come in from the capital city of Kyiv, it points to the fact that the Russian armed column that was camping on the outskirts of Kyiv has moved closer to Kyiv. Now, at this point of time, I'm sure you're talking to the authorities in the capital city. What are they saying about the possibility of Russia being poised to attack the capital city?
So one thing that we have to understand is that the city of Kyiv is presumed to be encircled from 3 directions, whereas the attack is now incoming from the northeast and the northwest. We saw those images from the northeastern side near Brovary, and we've heard reports of a similar column around in the northwest near Irpin or Hostomel. Now they are trying to converge and get into the city of Kyiv. We've heard some progress being done by the Russian side, and at the same point of time the Ukrainian forces, the special forces of Ukraine, they tend to go down and on the ground, and they intend on repelling that attack or that progression by the Russian side. So it's more of a cat and mouse chase, it won't be wrong to say. But if I tell you on the situation on ground, as I said, it remains hostile, it remains tense. And in that fog of war, it is extremely difficult to verify the facts on ground. But at least for the time being, one thing that can be verified or that can be said with confidence is the fact that Russian forces, they tried to make some ingress, but they were pushed back by the Ukrainian special forces. Saleh?
Absolutely. Now, according to reports, Anas, it is being said that at least half the population of Kyiv has managed to flee from the city. anticipating that the city could in fact come under more intense attacks from the Russians. At this point of time, are there people, civilians who would want to leave Kiev, and are they being allowed to go out of the city?
Well, you're absolutely right on that. The estimates that say that about half of the population of Kiev has left are indeed true. In fact, it won't be wrong to say that it's just a little over 70%. The people who are left behind in Kiev are those who have chosen to stay back. Right now, the evacuations from Kiev are as such that the humanitarian corridors that were opened about 2 days back, we saw a lot of trains running, and as a result of that, people coming in from the south, north and east to the city of Kiev, and then from here they embarked on the trains towards the western city of Lviv, because the west is considered considerably safe at this point of time. Now the other thing is that more than 2.7 million people from Ukraine have now sought refuge in associated border countries, most of them going to Poland. So that's about 2.7 million people being rendered homeless. That's about 7% of the population of Ukraine that are now refugees since this invasion began, since the past 16 or 17 days since this invasion began. The Kyiv railway station and the Lviv railway station, the one in the center where I am and the one in the west where I was last week, both are serving as a transit route or a transit hub. People are coming in from other parts of the country to Kyiv. Then from onwards, from Kyiv, they embark on those trains towards Lviv. That's on the western side, because train travel is considered at this point of time the most safest travel. That's number one. And number two, the railways has waived off the fees for anyone planning to travel from Kyiv towards safety. So basically, these are free trains. That's the reason we're seeing more and more influx of people from elsewhere in the country towards Kyiv, and from Kyiv they go onwards towards Lviv, and if they have accommodation in Lviv, they stay there, or they go onwards to the associated European countries. Saleh?
All right, and my last question to you, Anas, one of the first casualties in a war is that the supply lines get disrupted. At this point of time, how is the capital city of Kiev in terms of the food supplies, in terms of electricity, access to internet? Is it all fine for the people there, or are there food shortages that are being reported?
Well, there is a scarcity of resources, and that is visible. To the point that even in the hotels, there is a limited quota that they have to follow, despite the fact that the administration is doing their utmost to bring in supplies from elsewhere in the city, from elsewhere in the country, to the city of Kiev. For instance, the trains that are going full of passengers are returning full of supply lines, but those supplies are clearly not enough. I'll give you an example. At the hotel where I am staying, we asked for bread the other day over breakfast, and they said that the bread quota for the day has finished, so they would have to stock up. So that goes on to explain and show the magnitude of the situation and what the Ukrainians, precisely the people of Kiev, are preparing for, and they are stocking up for in case things go out of hand, so they have ample amount of supplies. Now the administration claims that in the bunker they have the supplies for at least another 3 weeks, and to add the blessing in disguise was the people leaving, so they had stocked up for those people as well, and now with those people leaving they have additional supplies. But this is a claim. Supermarkets here are mostly empty. They are refilled after some time, because the timings of supermarkets are between 10 and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the day, because in the evening, later in the evening, we have a curfew. So the supply line by and large remains choked, and there is an acute shortage that can be felt in the city. Saleh?
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Anas Malik, for joining us and getting us all those updates. Do stay safe there. We'll come back to you as more details emerge in the story. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.